All right, today we're jumping into two stories that, honestly, they defy belief. They sound like they're straight out of a Hollywood movie, but nope, they are 100% real. We're going to be exploring what it means to survive when the odds are just impossibly stacked against you. I mean, really think about that. Is it possible to survive something that, by all logic, should be unsurvivable? It's a question that really pushes up against everything we think we know about medicine, physics, and, sheer human endurance. What does it actually take? So, we're going to dig into two absolutely incredible case studies. And look, these aren't just stories about getting lucky, they're these profound examples of resilience that stretch the very limits of what we thought the human body and mind could even handle. That's the core of it, right? We have two people in two totally different scenarios, both staring down what should have been certain death. So the real question is, what was their secret? How did they manage to walk away when, by all accounts, they should have been gone? Okay, our first story, it literally starts with a nightmare scenario. It's Christmas Eve, 1971. A commercial flight is making its way over the Peruvian rainforest. Suddenly, it's struck by lightning and just disintegrates in midair. And one passenger, a 17-year-old girl, well, she just starts to fall. Let that number sink in. 10,000 feet. That's nearly 2 miles straight down. She's strapped to her seat, just plummeting towards the earth. I mean, just try to imagine that. The chances of surviving a fall like that they're basically zero. And yet somehow she woke up the next morning on the jungle floor. Her seat, still attached, had apparently fallen through the incredibly dense canopy of the Amazon, which cushioned that final brutal impact just enough. She was alive, but her ordeal? It had only just begun. Surviving the fall was the first impossibility. Surviving the Amazon was going to be the second. She didn't just survive by luck. Her father was a zoologist, and he taught her this one crucial piece of survival knowledge. Follow small streams. They always flow into bigger ones, and those rivers eventually lead to people. So, with a broken collarbone and some really deep wounds, she put that knowledge to the test. She followed the water for 11 days, fighting off insects, infection, until, miraculously, she stumbled upon help. It is just a stunning testament to the power of what you know. All right, now for our next story. And I promise you, this one is just as unbelievable, but in a totally different way. We're shifting gears from a battle against Mother Nature to a bizarre 1 in a billion medical accident that happened way back in 1848. So Phineas Gage was a railroad foreman, a really respected guy. One day, during an explosion on the job, a tamping iron, we're talking a metal rod over 3 feet long and more than an inch thick, shot straight up through his left cheek, went behind his eye, and blasted out the top of his skull, landing dozens of feet away. This is a quote from his doctor at the time, and you can just feel the total astonishment in those words. Gage was conscious and talking within minutes of the accident. He survived. With a massive hole through his head, he just lived. It absolutely baffled 19th century medicine. No one could explain it. Now, here's the crucial part. It's what part of his brain was destroyed. That iron rod just obliterated much of his frontal lobe. Physically, yeah, he recovered. But his friends, they all said he was no longer Gage. His whole personality, his ability to plan things, his social filter, it was all profoundly changed. He survived, but a huge part of who he was gone forever. So, okay, we have these two completely unbelievable stories. One is a fall from the sky. The other is an iron rod through the brain. On the surface, you couldn't find two more different situations. But if you look closer, together, they start to paint this much bigger picture of what it really means to survive. What we're seeing here are two very different sides of the same coin. For Julianne, the fight was all external. It was her against the jungle. Her mind and the knowledge she had were her most important tools. But for Phineas, the entire battle was internal. His body miraculously healed from an injury that should have killed him on the spot, but it ended up costing him his very identity. It's just a stark reminder of the brain's incredible resilience, but also its incredible fragility. So what are the common threads here? What can we take away? Well, first off, sheer improbable luck played a massive role in both stories. They both should have died instantly. Second, knowledge was absolutely critical for Julianne. And interestingly, for Phineas, it was the lack of modern medical knowledge at the time that made his survival such a complete mystery. And finally, there's that thing we can't really measure, that unquantifiable will to live that science still can't fully explain. So, where does all this leave us? Well, cases like these really force us to stop and reconsider what we believe is actually survivable. They are total outliers for sure, but they stretch the very definition of what the human body and mind can endure. Resilience isn't just about bouncing back. For Julianne, it was about pushing forward, using knowledge and hope as fuel. For Phineas, it was his body's raw biological refusal to give up, even when a core part of his mind had literally been blasted away. And that right there is the ultimate question these stories leave us with. They suggest that maybe, just maybe, that line we draw between what's possible and what's impossible is a lot more blurry than we think. It really makes you wonder, what hidden capacities for survival are lying dormant inside each and every one of us?